through you. If you have a son or daughter, they're not your dependent, they can get it on their own and potentially get a tax credit based on their income. Next slide, please. So the penalty. I mentioned earlier some folks who can't get a tax credit because they have other insurance. Well, if you have that other insurance, it's quality insurance. You also are not going to be penalized for not having insurance. But if you don't have health insurance, you will have to pay a penalty. Next slide. So this is what it is, and so you see here for 2014, you see these numbers, you see $95 per adult, 50% if under 18, that sounds innocent enough. But it also mentions 1% of your household income. It's the higher of the two. Certain income is excluded, so $9,500 for a single person, around $20,000 for a family is excluded from this calculation. But if you're a single person, you're making $80,000 a year, and you decide to go without health insurance, it will be a $700 penalty, about a $700, a little more than that penalty that you have to pay. There is a cap on the penalty, which is essentially the cost of one of the sort of what it would cost for the cheapest plan, cheapest bronze plan, sort of average cheapest bronze plan that's available. But that won't come into play for many people this year, but in future years, that cap may affect or may rein in the amount of someone's penalty. But, you know, you're going to pay $700 or $800 for nothing, or you're going to pay, you know, a few $1,000s and actually have health insurance protect your family. I mean, it seems like a good decision. In future years, though, you see the penalty goes up. In 2015 to 2% of household income, as high as 2.5% in 2016. The dollar amounts on the top are the minimum. So even if your household income is pretty low, you have to pay that dollar amount. Now, there is one exception. If your income is so low that you don't have to pay taxes, you have less than $9,500, remember, because $9,500 is excluded, then you don't have to worry about the penalty. Next slide, please. Sorry. Some other exemptions here. If you have a short coverage gap, less than 3 consecutive months. If you have a significant financial hardship, your house burned down, you had a flood, there was something that really made it difficult for you to, enroll and get the coverage. If there's nothing available for less than 8% of your household income, you're exempted from the penalty. And remember, I mentioned earlier, you're also eligible to purchase a catastrophic plan if you choose to. The tax credits cannot be used to purchase a catastrophic plan, though. That's one thing. They're usually cheaper, but you can't use the tax credits for them. If you're incarcerated, also for people who are outside of the country, if you were outside of the country for 330 days during the year, then you can get an exemption from this. It's not automatic. You have to ask for it, but you can get that exemption. So if you know anyone like that. Next slide.